Hi guys, welcome to the new video. As you can see behind me, I've got the DIY shower up and running now. As you can also see, it's not finished. It's not clad yet. I'm just giving it a week or two on test, really, just to make sure it's behaving as it should, and I'm happy with everything. Then I'll clad the sides and the front. Probably going to tile it the same as the pond. So yeah, I'll show you that once it's done. But everything's up and running now. Just doesn't look particularly nice at the moment. So in this video I'll take you through the construction. If you haven't seen the earlier videos in this kind of series, I do really recommend you check them out. The first video is all about the principles of the shower, why it was designed, what it mimics, how it works. Really good info if you're going to build your own. I suggest you watch that. And then kind of the first of the construction type videos where we looked at choosing the correct size trays, the correct boxes for your particular shower, your particular conditions, because everyone will be different. So I do recommend you watch that, because getting the right trays is important. You know, it really is. If you use the ones I recommend in that earlier video, all the heavy lifting's done for you. There's very little to the construction of it after that. So I do recommend you watch both of those. Then there's a third video, a second in the construction type on media. Again, media is the most important part of the whole shower, so I do really suggest you watch that. I managed to get a good discount on some media there as well, so I recommend that. Check all those out and then come back and watch this one. I'll take you through the construction. The other thing I just want to say before I carry on, the kind of remit for this was all about accessibility, so everyone can make this. There's nobody will be excluded because they haven't got fancy tools or they haven't got skills. That, you know, it is simple. It is absolutely, it's a doddle to do, and anyone can do it, and that's intentional. So you're not going to see anything flash, anything fancy in this video. It's all dead simple, but if you follow it, you will come out of it with a good shower, very cheap, and it will work. So we'll crack on without further ado. I'll come back to you at the end with just a little summary as well. Okay, so these are the trays I'm going to be using. I did initially get the bigger ones, the 600s, because I did plan to try and increase my flow, but I've since added the Tempest to my pod. I've got it on test, and I'm really happy with that system now, how it's all working together. So I don't really want to disturb the flow and change things at all if I can help it. So as such, I'm going to stick to a 5,000 litre per hour flow rate, which means I need to scale my shower down. So I've gone for the trays that are 400 millimeters by 300 millimeters. That's these. The Euro containers that I talked about in the previous video, and that size is absolutely perfect for the 5,000 litres per hour flow. There'll be 5 kilograms of Aquasource Kano in each tray, so 20 kilograms in total, and that should be absolutely perfect for the 5,000 litres and for the size of the pond here. Okay, so the trays themselves stack on top of each other. I've only got the one here, but they fit on top of each other. In terms of when they're finally assembled, all I'm going to do is apply a very small bead of silicone around there. I use HA6, which is an aquarium sealant, but it's very, very cheap compared to the others. Sit them all on top of each other, let that go off. It's surprisingly strong, but I want to be able to take them apart if I need to, so it's not a permanent fix. If you want to do something more permanent, you could put some screws through these two flanges, but believe me, the silicone will stick these really well. Now, in terms of getting them ready to take the media, two options really. I've got the grills, which I intended sitting in the bottom, but I've also done a little trial whereby I've just used a hole cutter like this one on the drill. I've drilled a load of holes in the bottom, and surprisingly the strength is still there. So I don't think you actually need to put the grills in if you don't want to. I've got them, I'm going to put them in, but I think if you've not already bought them, give it a go without. I think you can probably get away without. You'll notice in these, they're absolutely ideal. There's a very small chamfered edge, about 10mm at the side there. It slopes down. So if you make all your holes inside of that, so starting from here, that little slope will stop any water collecting on there. So it's absolutely perfect. Literally, it's boring this. It's quite time consuming. You'll get into a bit of a method, but literally what you need to do is simply drill holes in the bottom. So start in one corner, put a hole through, and then carry on all the way around the bottom. I've drilled them about 5 or 6mm apart, like so, all along, all over the whole bottom. As I say, 5, 6, 7mm, something like that. It's random, it's not, there's no science to it. Cover the whole bottom. Surprisingly, there is still good strength in there when that's done. As I say, if you're worried, or if you want to be able to lift the media out probably a bit easier, the trays that we talked about in the first video will still just drop in for a bit of extra support. I'll show you one that I've already done. Okay, this is one that I've drilled fully. So as you can see, all over the bottom, you get a lot of swarf like this stuff. You'll need to run a piece of rough sandpaper over inside and out just to get rid of all that, clean it all up. And then basically, in terms of actually preparing the trays, that's it. So there's not anything clever to this. All the heavy lifting was done by selecting the right boxes in the first place. I've deliberately tried to make this as simple and as easy as possible, so as to not exclude anyone from being able to do this. So there's no fancy engineering here. This is basic and simple and effective. As I say, in terms of preparing the trays, that's it. What I'll be doing, 4 tiers, the top 3 will have the holes, and then they'll be stacked like so. And then the bottom tray, I'll be fitting a bulkhead fitting to, a 3-inch bulkhead fitting with a 3-inch outlet coming back and returning to the pond. And I'm going to put this actually in the corner of my pond, I think, over there. So I'll probably fix it onto that back fence, make some kind of support for it, sit it on there, and then I'll return over the pond wall with the 3-inch pipe. In terms of the grills, as I mentioned in the first video on the construction, if you want to use these, you can. Now, for these smaller trays, for the 400s, the strength is more than adequate. They're not necessary. Maybe for the bigger trays, you may need to use them for the strength there. You might not have the integrity when you drill so many holes. If you want to use them for the bigger trays, you'll need 2 running that way on each tray. If you buy the grills that I recommended. Now, literally, you cut these with a hand saw, mark them up to the size of the bottom of the tray, cut them down, and then you literally just push in. This is a snug fit, but it does go in. You can either leave it as I've got it there, where you've put the holes in and you've got the grill on top, or if you're using the grills, then rather than do all the holes, there's nothing at all to stop you just running a cutter around, taking the whole bottom out, but leave this kind of lip here that you'll see when you get the trays, and that grill will sit on that lip. It can't go any further, and you'll get better flow through there. It's probably a little quicker as well than drilling all the holes. I'll probably do that. I think I'll probably cut the bottom out on mine and just keep the grills. But as I say, I wanted to show you, because keep the cost down. You don't need to buy the grills. You can do it that way, and it works equally as well. Okay, in terms of returning the water to the pond from the bottom tray, right, what I'm going to do on my pond, if you can see behind me, I currently return over the pond wall. I'm going to sit my shower on the fence in that corner there, and I'm going to return the water through the same kind of place, so I can just adjust the glass to get the pipe, a slightly bigger pipe in. Now, to do that, I purchased one of these tank connectors. This is a 3-inch tank connector. This came from Eco Filtration. Again, they were the best price wise. Service was fine, so do recommend those. And basically what you're going to do, I've just done this and I did film myself doing it and realised after I hadn't pressed record, so I'm kind of winging it a bit. But basically, if you remove this flange, remove the screws from this, throw them everywhere if you can. What you need to do, you've got a lip here that you need to clear. So put the outer piece on, just draw around the inside there to mark up where you want the hole, and then using hole cutter, this is a 102mm hole cutter, this just happens to be the one that I have lying around. You simply drill a hole through the side of the tray, and you end up with this. As I say, I have just done that, what I thought was on camera, only to find I hadn't pressed record. Now what you'll notice is this sits in total about an inch or so off the bottom, so there's going to be an inch below the takeoff point there. Now I'm not too worried about that. There is potential there for debris to collect, so you do need to consider it. I did think about the bottoms that I've cut out the other trays, cutting some triangles and basically benching the bottom so you don't have that dead zone. That's one option. Personally, I'm not too worried. If you notice, my water is absolutely brilliant at the moment. I've got the pod and the Tempest and it's absolutely immaculate. There's no fines in there at all. So I'm not at all worried about mechanical debris coming back and collecting in this shower. If you're feeding it differently to mine and you're worried about that, then as I said, benching the bottom is an option. Personally, as I say, I'm not worried, but because of the way I'm going to assemble my shower, this will be demountable, so I can get in there periodically and check. But I think that because it's 5,000 litres going through quite a small footprint here, that is going to be agitated, and I think any waste that does get in there will be flushed out. The only thing that may collect in that is bits of grit or little pieces of media that come off over time, and they're likely to sink and not get flushed out, but I'm quite happy with that. I'm happy for this to collect those for me, and then periodically I'll take them out. So a couple of options there, depending on if you are or you're not worried about that. And then basically this then fits on the flange either side. Put the screws back in, screw them, pull the two together with a bead of silicone between them. Now in terms of what silicone I recommend, I always recommend HA6. This is a marine grade silicone and it's absolutely brilliant. Performance wise, property wise, I can't fault it. It's about £3 a tube. Some of the ones that people associate with koi ponds, 12, 15 quid a tube. It's exactly the same stuff. Get yourself some of this, bob on, and as I say, a bead around each piece. Assemble that together, put your screws back in, pull it all tight, and then leave it to go off. Give it a good 24 hours to go off properly before you put water anywhere near it. And that is the bottom tray for returning. Now another option, I'm not bothered myself, but as I say, you probably have about an inch of water if you do this. If you leave it as it is, you could put some media in there, you know, something to colonize some bacteria if you want a little bit of extra bio. Personally, I'm not worried. But that's the bottom tray. As I say, this will have a 3-inch socket. I can then fit a 3-inch pipe on to return back to the pond over the wall. So I've just dry fitted this. As with everything that you glue or seal, always dry fit it first just to make sure everything's bang on, because once you put the glue on or the sealant on, there's no going back if it doesn't fit. So I've not over tightened it, but that's the fitting in place, the bulkhead fitting. All looks good, so I'm going to take that apart, disassemble it again, apply the sealant, and then put it together for the last time and leave that to go off. Okay, so make sure that's completely dry as well. I think this stuff does set underwater, but better that it's dry. Okay, so bead of silicone all the way around on the inside of the screw holes. There you go, as you can see, and you don't need loads of this. It does pull together very flat, so you don't want tons of this in there. Back in place. Get some screws in just to hold it in place. Obviously these are stainless steel screws as well, that's why I keep dropping them, because they're not magnetic. And on this first bit, again, don't over tighten them. You want to pull the thing, pull it together in one movement, pull both flanges together. You don't want to tighten that up just yet. Basically, same again, make sure a little ding out of that. Just make sure it's dry. Another bead inside the screw holes again. And then I've got the screws sticking out just a little bit so you can locate onto those. And then simply tighten them all up together. And there you go, one bulkhead fitting, and that should be nice and watertight. Ready to go. Give it 24 hours to cure, and we'll test it, make sure it is watertight. Just a little update on the bottom. If you choose to cut the bottom out completely, as I think I'm now going to do, few options for that. You could use a drill with a small drill bit and what's called stitch drill. So basically you drill lots of little holes all the way around and then just cut that out with a good sharp knife or a saw. You could just stitch drill enough to get started to get your sew in. I'll do it from the bottom, and then once you've got the sew in, cut it out with a normal hand saw. Or you can use something like this, like a multi-cutter if you have one. And basically, again, all of this does, you can use something like that to just cut the bottom out again at the end of that chamfer. I've decided I'm going to take all the bottoms out of mine, so I'll just finish these last few off now. Yeah, so that's definitely the quicker option if you have access to a multi-cutter. you go. Done. I'll tidy all that up. Okay, in terms of the spray bar, all my return pipe work's 1.5 inches, so I'm going to stick with that and use 1.5 inch spray bar as well. Now basically what I've been doing, I've used the rubber boot there. I can fit this piece of pipe on the rubber boot, and I can watch how the return flow is coming out, and I've made the holes and modified it accordingly. So basically what I've got is a single line of 8mm holes down the middle, the full width of the tray, and I've not marked these up, or they're completely freehand. I want it to be kind of chaotic. I don't want it doesn't need to be perfect. I'd sooner it wasn't, if I'm honest. 8mm hole run down the middle. I've then added a line of 6mm holes outside of that, so I've got 8 down the middle, 2 6s down the sides, and that's given me a kind of effect that I'm looking for now. Basically, if I fit this to the return open-ended, I can see there's a little bit of water still coming out, but I can put my hand over the end and I can see that there's really no pressure in that. So by putting my hand over the end, it's not trying to push my hand off, and it doesn't suddenly start spraying out of these holes harder. So from that I can deduce that, you know, I'm not putting a lot of extra back pressure, if anything, on the pump with this configuration of holes. So I'm happy with that. That's giving me exactly the effect that I want. So I'll very quickly I think they're getting fed. I'll very quickly pop this on. I'll try and set the camera around there with me so you can see the kind of effect that I'm getting from that, and you can obviously, you'll need to adjust accordingly, but if you can set something up like I've got here, where you can keep trying it, drill a few more holes, try it again, it really does help. So yeah, I'll show you that with the water running through. Okay, so hopefully you can see this, see what I'm trying to get at. Basically, if I slot that on, you can see there, it's spreading from that height. It's spreading about 3 inches, the width of that. Obviously, as you go higher, that'll be a little bit more, but that's the effect that I'm looking for. And you can see, as I say, there's a little bit of water coming out the end here, but if you watch, when I cover it up, the flow coming out of these doesn't really change at all. Very slightly, but there's no pressure behind that. There's no pressure on my hand there, so I'm not introducing a lot of back pressure. That isn't going to slow the flow down and increase the wattage on the pump, and that basically is the look that I'm going for. So I've completed the spray bar. I don't know if you can see that was the configuration I ended up with. As I say, 8mm holes, run of 8mm down the middle, 2 lines of 6 either side. Okay, now in terms of fitting it into the top tray, a couple of different ways you can do this. I've got a rubber stop end there, which I'm going to fit on the end. And basically what I've done, hopefully you can see this, I've just drilled a couple of holes through the handles at the top there and there. Now they're 2 different sizes. This hole on this side is to correspond to the pipe, and this hole on this side is to correspond to the rubber boot. And basically the spray bar is going to sit in like that, and then I'm going to put an elbow on here going down to my return pipe work. Now in terms of fixings, you could do this other ways. You could skip cutting the holes. You could fit the bar on the top and use pipe clips across the top and screw them in if you wished. I'm just trying to keep the height down to a minimum, to be honest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fix this rubber boot into here with probably just with silicone. I could do a more permanent fix, but I'm happy with silicone because it means if I need to get it off at all in the future I can. So I'll fix that in, and then I can just slide the spray bar in and out if need be. If I ever need to get it out to clean it or whatever, put it back in, push it back into the boot, tighten that up, and that's it. It's pretty solid, you know. It isn't going going to need anything at this end. Maybe put a bit of silicone on there as well, but I don't think there's any need to go into any more, do anything more complicated than that really. And as you can see, it keeps the height down to a minimum. So I'm going to clad this, as I've said, and tile over it. So I want to minimize everything. The holes, again, just a hole cutter on a drill, just need different sizes. But as I say, there's a few different ways you could do this, but that's the way I'm doing it. So as you can see, I've now fitted a grill in the bottom tray with the return. So I just wanted to quickly go through that with you, just show you what I've done. You'll see it's the one, there's a slope on that, it just slopes to the back a little bit. But basically, I'll just lift this out actually. What I've done, I've just cut two little pieces from the offcuts of the grills. Now the one at the front here, where the tank connector is for the return water, that one comes up a little bit higher, as you can see. The one at the back, the height of this at the back is to clear this, so the media won't sit in any water at the back. Now, which way did that go? I turned it round, haven't I? Now, basically, all I've done, put those pieces of offcut in. I'll just fix them in with a bit of silicone. They're not fixed at the moment. Now, when I push this grill in and it sits on those, basically what I've got at the front there, as you can see inside, the grill comes just past halfway, and that basically is just to make sure that this media won't go back through there. So that's the reason for that height. I mean, there's not going to be any flow of note. I don't think there's any danger of pushing media in back to the pond, into the pond, but I've done it that way anyway. And the back, as I say, it does slope down. I've just optimizing this space really. This slopes down so that when this fills with water and comes out there, the media is always out of the water. Now, in terms of the media going into this, I'm going to have to reduce it down a little bit. I'm not going to get the full 5 kilograms in there, so I'm going to go for probably 4 to start with and see how we go. But as I say, I will probably have to reduce that down a little bit. Having had a look at the other trays and how full they get with 5 in, I'm not going to get 5 in there. So yeah, keep that in mind. You may have to just reduce the amount going into this bottom tray a little bit. But basically, that's it. I will just put a little bit of silicone on those just to keep them in place. But to be honest, they're not going anywhere as they are. And that's the bottom tray done. So I'll just very quickly just go through the media, the unboxing, and actually putting the media in the trays. Okay, so what we've got inside these boxes, this is the aqua sauce Kano as well, by the way, is 3 boxes, 5 kilograms each. Okay, that's the media there. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, now shower media, fire infrared, 5 kilograms. So, as I say, there's 3 of these 5 kilogram boxes in each of the bigger boxes. And inside there, what you've got is the media itself. I think they're about, well, 150 millimeters long, 40 millimeter diameter, and there should be 50 of these in each box, making up 5 kilograms in weight. So the trays that I'm using on this shower in particular are going to hold 5 kilograms of media in each tray, so one full box per tray. And basically these want to go in a very random way. Now I've just broke that up. You can break them up you can leave them whole, you can do whatever you want, but the thing is, the key is they want to be chaotic. They want to be scattered around randomly. You know, you don't want any uniformity to them. Actually going to probably have to break these up more, otherwise they're not going to fit in one of these boxes. Blimey. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of this per box, I have to say. A lot more than I was expecting. Good stuff. Yeah, basically, as I say, I'm going to have to break these up. There is way too much to just get into a tray as they are. You'll get some dust off these as well when you first put them in. That's to be expected, because during transit they're rubbing together and wearing down. That's fine. Okay, right, as I say, so that's a full 5 kilograms there now in one of those small trays. So completely randomly, as you can see. Now I've not got, when the next box goes on, the drop between them trays is way too small, so I'm gonna break them up a lot more and get that sat a lot lower. I want a good fall. And to be honest, looking at it there, I suspect I'll be taking some of that out of there. I think probably 5 kilograms may wind up being a little bit too much for one of these, so I'll have a look at it, work out the optimum amount per tray, and I'll let you know what I arrive at. Okay, so just a couple of important points to finish. One regarding the handle holes. Now, I said on the tray video, try to get the ones without handle holes, but if you can only get ones with them, not the end of the world. Now, because the media came a lot higher up the trays than I anticipated, I suspect you will get quite a bit of splashing out of those handle holes. Now, all as I did, just to be on the safe side, I got something, it's called Anti-Nox, ANTINOX, or Hard Nox, HARDNOX, depending where you go. B&Q sell it in big sheets. It's like a plasticky but very thin. Cut it with scissors. I basically cut those to the size of the side of the tray and just slid them down between the media and the side of the tray, just to cover the handle holes, just to be on the safe side. So you may need to do that if you can only get handle holes. Lastly, the cost. Just very, very briefly, I spent on these 400ml boxes, they were £30 for 4. I spent £10 on the plastic grills for the bottom. I spent about £25 on pipework, making about £65 in total for the shower itself. And then the biggie, the media, was £62 for 10 kilograms. I got 20 kilograms. I didn't use quite all of it in the end, so £124, which gives a total of £189 for everything you see there. So a 4-tier shower tailored to the size of the pond and the floor, using what in my opinion is a very close second to genuine Bacteria House media. If there's anything I've missed, anything you don't understand, anything you want to explain in more, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. Hopefully that's been useful to you. I will come back with an update on the performance of this in due course once we get warmer weather and get some feeding going in. Please do check out the other videos. Do give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and please leave a comment. I always like to read comments and I answer them all. And until the next video, do take care and stay safe.